Om Nama Srashtham Manumapi Shachi Putramatra Swarupam Rupam Tasyagrajam Urupuring Amaturing Oshtavatim Radha Kundam Girivaram Aho Radhika Madhavasam Prapto Yasya Prasita Kripaya Sri Gurung Tang Natosmi Ali Paripadita Pravalita Sanandamalokita Pratyashang Sufala Phala Pratyashang Sumano Phalodaya Vidho Samodama Moditaham Vrindaranya Bhuvi Prakasha Madhura Sarvatishayi Sriya Radha Madhavayo Pramodayatu Mam Ulala Sakalpa Drumaham Jai Rupa Sanatana Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunath E Chai Gosaira Kori Charana Bandhan Jaha Hoite Vignana Shavishta Puran Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jai Shri Radhe. Well, I can tell you, my friends, that today has been really a test. Numerous times I wanted to find another venue, but each time I looked for another venue to record these videos, I ran into obstacles of various kinds. And I'm not even sure that we can avoid power failures and other such things before the end of this one. At any rate, this is about like take 15 or something like that, if you can believe it. Nevertheless, let us go on. This is 1.5 of Anuched number 1 of Priti Sandarbha. We're continuing on here with Jiva Goswami's introduction to the Priti Sandarbha, establishing in various different ways that the encounter of Bhagavan in Priti, that love of God is the ultimate goal of life. And his argument has started out with the simple premise that we seek happiness and the end of distress, and that the only way for that to happen is for the part to be reunited with the whole. The whole, the absolute truth, being bliss in its ultimate form. The jiva himself is just a tiny fragment, and although he has bliss within him, being Satchidananda by nature, that bliss is unfortunately microscopic. And so as a result, the jiva is always looking externally, looking outwardly to find the happiness that he knows is his birthright. But unfortunately, everywhere he's looking in the wrong places. And so as we see today in the world that the consumerist society has gone crazy, and we are trying to live ever more comfortable and sense gratificatory consumerist lives, all because we don't know how to find our natural, true constitutional position. And that swarupa, that constitutional position, is that situation in which we are connected with God in love. We are connected with Krishna, Bhagavan, in love. So today, this is continuing this way. He's going to, of course, because Jiva Goswami, as has already been mentioned earlier, and will be mentioned many times again, that of course this is the last of the Sandarbhas. So as the last of the Sandarbhas, we've already gone through Sambandha Tattva in the Paramatma and Bhagavat Sandarbhas. And a great deal of that has been to debunk the idea that Brahma-sākṣātkar or Brahma, that the Tattvamasi and other well-loved statements of the Brahmavadis, that this is the ultimate Purushartha. But this is why we have a Panchama Purushartha, Mukti, as understood by the Advaitavadis, of becoming or realizing one's identity with Brahman, that this is only a partial understanding. The Vaishnavas don't deny its reality or its being of the nature of liberation, but it's only partial. So let's read today's text and we'll see what we get. The title is Different Categories of Attainment of the Whole by the Part. Well, there's only two of them. So he says here, atrāṁśenāṁśi-prāptiś dvidhā yojanīyā. So it should be added that the attainment of the whole by the part is of two types. So I'll read what Babaji Maharaj has to say here. In Tattva Sandarbha, as well as Bhagavat Sandarbha, it was explained that the one Tattva manifests in three ways, as Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. So the Tattva, Bhagavat, and Paramatma Sandarbhas are all fundamentally based on that one verse. Canto 1, Chapter 2, Verse 11. Everyone should know it. Vadanti tattva vidas tattvam yaj jnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaniti shabdyate. That's one truth. We don't deny that this is not three separate gods. It's like the Trinity in Christianity, 3 in 1. They're not to be separated. They're existing simultaneously as different manifestations, and this is something that we're going to talk about here in this present, not in this present anuched or this present section, but tomorrow it will be again brought up. Do not deny Brahman as being the non-dual substance, the Advaya Tattva. But Paramatma and Bhagavan are other names that are also given to that same Advaya Tattva. So the Brahmavadis, they deny that Bhagavan is part of Advaya Tattva. They take it that Bhagavan is part of the dual nature of the illusory world. All right, so in Tattva Sandarbha as well as in Bhagavat Sandarbha, it was explained that the one Tattva manifests in three ways, as Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. The Paramatma manages the affairs of Prakriti, the extrinsic potency of Bhagavan. Thus, he is not manifest always, and for this reason cannot be an Ishta Devata. So, Paramatma is going to be subsumed into Bhagavan. Thus, he is not manifest always, and for this reason cannot be an Ishta Devata. This means that because he is in charge of the material universe, this includes the Purusha avatars, and the Guna avatars, and so on, the different Manvantara avatars. These are all forms of the Paramatma as manifest within the material creation. So because the material creation has a beginning and end, therefore the Paramatma's functions are related to the material universe, and therefore his existence is contingent on that particular lila. So the activities of the jiva within this world, and those he may pray or wish to have some relationship with God, but that relationship with God is fundamentally connected to his identity with this body and with this material phenomenal existence. So when we talk about, when the Advaitavadis talk about God as being a part of the material nature or being a part of the illusory nature, in a sense, what they're talking about is the Paramatma feature. But they have no real understanding of the Bhagavan feature, which is existing in pure, in internal potency, in his own mahima, in his own mahimni. That's where he is present. Sway mahimni. So Ishta Devata, of course, means worshipable God. All this was explained in Paramatma Sandarbha. Therefore, the only objects of achievement for one seeking ultimate liberation are Brahman and Bhagavan. So, as Brahman or Bhagavan. Therefore, Jiva Goswami states that a part can attain the whole in two ways, either as Brahman or as Bhagavan. So, tatrādyā brahma-prāptir māyā-vṛtty-avidyā-vidyā-nāśānantaraṁ kevala tat-swarupa-shakti-lakṣana tad-vijñāna-āvirbhāva-mātram. I'll say that tatrādyā, the first of these two, is brahma-prāptir, the attainment of Brahman, which is kevala tat-swarupa-shakti-lakṣana tad-vijñāna-āvirbhāva-mātram, which is just a manifestation of the consciousness of the whole, characterized by its pure internal potency, after māyā-vṛtty-avidyā-vidyā-nāśānantaraṁ, after the ignorance, avidya, and knowledge, vidya, features of Maya, have been destroyed. So one's manifestation of the consciousness of the whole, characterized by its pure internal potency. So that the meaning of that will be explained here in a moment. So Maya or Ajnana has two divisions, called Vidya and Avidya, as Sri Krishna tells Uddhava. Vidya vidye mamatanu vidyuddhava sharirinam moksha bandha kari adye māyā me vinirmite ekasyaiva mamāṅśasya jīvasyaiva mahamate bandhosya vidyaya nadir vidyaya cha tatetaraha. So, O Uddhava, know that Vidya and Avidya are my two beginningless energies. So the word tanu here has been translated as energy. Tanu actually is usually translated as body, but it means expansion or something, extension, you could say. Tanu means extended, so the extension. So Krishna is saying that my extensions are, my two beginningless extensions are the ignorance and the knowledge of the living entities. They are made by my Maya and cause bondage and release to the embodied beings. O intelligent one, the jiva, who is one of my parts, is bound by beginningless avidya and released by vidya. So one is bound by avidya and released by vidya, but nevertheless vidya is considered to be a part of the external potency. The vidya part of Maya dispels, of course, here in this verse also, please note that ekasyaiva mamāṅśasya, he talks about the jiva being a part. And so you can't play around with this, mamaivaṅśo jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatanaha. So this is the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna is very clear, although obviously the Advaita-vadis interpret that verse a bit differently, but that the jiva is sanatana, that he is an eternal part of the supreme whole. So the vidya part of Maya dispels avidya, but that alone does not make one free from conditioning, because vidya is also part of Maya. Only if one has the grace of the Supreme Reality, the Parama-tattva, can one become free of vidya, and then Brahma Gyan becomes manifest. So the idea, this is following the system of the Brahma-vadis, the Advaita-vadis, who say that also knowledge or consciousness of the process of knowledge, the sadhana by which one attains to Brahma Gyan, is not actually in itself, it's a part of the sattva guna, it's not a part of the transcendental state itself. The jnana, when we talk about sat chit ananda, that chit consciousness is not jnana in a discursive manner. Right? One should not think that Brahma Gyan is knowledge about Brahman gained from the study of Vedanta. This is what's being, the study of Vedanta is just a process by which one comes to, and the same thing in yoga, they're talking about exactly the same thing in yoga, that one comes to the point of samadhi. One has savikalpa and nirvikalpa samadhi, and this nirvikalpa samadhi is a state where one has no awareness of the source, of any of the what they call the triputi, the three things, the known, the knower, and the process of knowing, or the seen and the seer and the seeing. So all these things are dispensed with when one attains samadhi or attains Brahma Gyan, in either case, Kaivalya, Brahma Gyan. Fundamentally, there's very little difference between the goal of the Brahma Gyanis and the yogis. So the knowledge of Brahman or Brahma Gyan is a manifestation of the intrinsic potency given by the grace of Bhagavan. So even for Brahma Gyan, this is the statement of the Vaishnavas, this is the claim of the Bhagavatam, that even Brahma Gyan is dependent on, and the goal of the yogis or the goal of the Brahma Gyanis, in either case, they're still dependent on bhakti, they're still dependent on the grace of the internal potency, which descends from the internal potency of Bhagavan. So just as the sun rays descend from the sun globe and remove our darkness, and at the same time reveal the sun itself, in the same way, the intrinsic potency of tattva descends into a particular jiva, dispels its avidya and its vidya, and reveals Brahman. So, sacha sva-sthāna eva va syāt krameṇa sarva-loka-sarvāvaraṇātikramānantaraṁ va syāt upāsanā-viśeṣānusāreṇa. So according to the one specific type of worship, this attainment of Brahma Jnana is possible either in one's own present situation or after gradually traversing all the regions or lokas and universal coverings. So this type of realization, this is Babaji speaking here, this type of realization can happen in two ways. It can happen right here in this life, or it can happen gradually while the practitioner moves on to higher spheres and finally crosses the seven coverings of the universe and reaches Brahman. So, although Babaji doesn't use the terminology here, the terms that are usually used are sadhyo mukti and krama mukti. I think that those terms will be used later in the Priti Sandarbha by Jiva himself, but for the time being he doesn't use them. So this depends upon the specific process adopted by the practitioner. Some want immediate mukti after giving up their body, and some first want to see the various spheres in the universe. In actual fact, the yogis and the Sankhya-vadis, they talk about what's called prati prasava or prati sanchara. And this is reabsorption into Prakriti, or the involuntary, or the involution, or return to the original primal state, right? So for the yogis, they talk about the yogis you have the Mahatattva and Buddhi, and then the evolution or devolution of the primordial state of Prakriti, and the primordial state of Prakriti is into the various elements, and these elements are the coverings of the universe. So either one in one's own body, one engages in the practice of involution or of retracting, and one does this in the tantric system, in the yoga system also, as a part of bhuta shuddhi, that one identifies as a pure spiritual being, but one has to go through all the coverings over the self. So you can do that either through the practice of in one zone, in the one body, in the body where you are situated now, through the practice of yoga and samadhi. And the other system is to go through the different levels of the universe, through the different lokas, where the practitioners or the yogis and the entities living in those realms are of a higher level of consciousness, or of a level of consciousness that is above what is present here in this world. And by doing so, one makes a gradual progression until one attains finally full identity with one's own spiritual nature, and with Brahman recognizes the oneness of the all-pervasive oneness of Brahman. So that's what we call Sadhyo Mukti and Krama Mukti. And now in the so then in the second kind, so we had the first one was brahma-prāpti, and now the second one he's calling is bhagavat-prāpti. Dvitīyā bhagavat-prāptiśya tasya vibhor api asarva-prakaṭasya tasminn evāvirbhāvena. So the first kind of bhagavat-prāpti is that Bhagavan is vibhu. So Bhagavan is also all-pervading, but he's not revealed to everyone. As Krishna says in the Gita, Naham prakasha sarvasya. I'm not revealed to everyone. Yoga maya samavrita. I'm covered by my maya potency, so people cannot see me. So this is the truth for the personal God in his Satchidananda Vigraha may appear in this world either through an incarnation, or he may have a special manifestation for his devotee. So you have different cases that are described in the Bhagavatam. And for instance, Narada, Krishna appeared to him inwardly, but Narada was able to perceive Bhagavan, but others would not have been able to perceive him. Similarly, other times, Krishna manifested in his personal form, and some were able to recognize him and some were not. So in some cases he was revealed, in some cases he was not. He revealed himself, and to others he was not revealed. So that's when the all-pervading Bhagavan, Vibhu, manifests himself to a particular person without being manifest to all. Or vibhunāpi vaikuṇṭhe sarva-prakaṭena tenācintya-śaktinā sva-caraṇāravinda-sānnidhya-prāpaṇayā va, or cha. So the second, when this all-pervading Bhagavan, so again he uses the word vibhu, who is manifest to everyone in Vaikuṇṭha. So unlike in this world, in Vaikuṇṭha, there everyone can see Bhagavan and can also recognize that he is Bhagavan. And he is there possessed of trans-rational power by which he takes one into his personal presence in Vaikuṇṭha. So the word used here is sva-caraṇāravinda-sānnidhya-prāpaṇayā. So in the translation here, nothing was mentioned about lotus feet. But it could be said the actual verbal word-for-word translation would be that he brings one into the proximity of his lotus feet. So bringing one into the proximity of his lotus feet would mean bringing him into his personal presence. So rather than use the rather elaborate formal statement of bringing him into the proximity of his lotus feet, I have chosen to change it to personal presence. So here Babaji says, the second type of attainment of the whole by the part is through the experience of Bhagavan. Although Bhagavan is unlimited, he appears to a qualified devotee in a seemingly limited form. Thus he appeared in the yajna of King Prithu, or to the boy Dhruva. In his own abode Vaikuṇṭha, however, he is manifest to everybody. When a perfected devotee leaves his or her body, Bhagavan carries such a devotee to his abode. So once again, this is and now we'll get terms for these two things, because they were parallel, right? The Brahma bodies, you had either in this body, sva-sthāna, or it was after going through all the coverings and all the lokas. So, and in the second one, it was having direct experience of Bhagavan in this body, and the second one was after leaving the body and going to Vaikuṇṭha. So, tadevaṁ stite sacha muktir utkrānta-daśāyāṁ jīvad-daśāyām api bhavati. So this mukti, so both these two kinds of mukti, you have brahma-sākṣātkār or brahma-prāptir and bhagavat-prāptiś being the two kinds of mukti. And they are available in utkrānta-daśā, in the situation after death, and jīvad-daśā, which is in the state while one is still living. Such being the case, mukti can occur both after death and also while one is living. Utkrāntasyopādhy-abhāve'pi tadiyā sva-prakāṣatā lakṣana dharma avyavadhanasya tat-sākṣātkāra-rūpatvat. So that mukti or bhagavat-prāptiś, for someone who is in the utkrānta, who is utkrānta, for one who has left the body, that even though in that state he is free from the upadhis, so it has to be someone who's free from the upadhis. It doesn't happen just because one is dead, or everybody would be liberated. Just like we said previously, swarupe-avasthanam, that everybody is situated in their swarup. So it requires something a little bit more. It means that there has to be some association, something added to the being situated in one's swarup. When we say swarupe-avasthanam, muktir hitvānyatha-rūpam swarupena-vyavastitihi, that's swarupena-vyavastiti. And this was explained in a previous reading. So although the dead person is free of conditioning, maybe take this and make change person here to the sadhaka or something. Even though the dead sadhaka is free from conditioning, upadhi, it is the removal of the obstructions to the absolute, which is self-luminous in character, that is the cause of the mukti. In other words, the word used here is vyavadhana. So by nature, Bhagavan is swaprakāṣa. He possesses the swaprakāṣa lakṣana dharma. So his characteristic is that he's swaprakāṣa. He's self-revealed, just like the sun. But if a cloud comes between you and the sun, then you don't see the sun. So that cloud is the vyavadhana, or the obstacle, or the obstruction to perceiving the self-luminous absolute. So that's the utkrānta-daśā. So the utkrānta-daśā still depends on the obstruction to the self-luminous absolute being removed. So that applies both to the brahma-prāptiś and to bhagavat-prāptiś. Now jīvatas, for one who is alive, tat-sākṣātkāreṇa māyā-kalpitasya anyatha-bhāvasya mityātva avabhāsāt. So by the same token, when in the living state, one has to come to the point of recognizing that anything other than being situated in one's swarupa, so here was anyatha bhava. We had that just mentioned there, that muktir hitva anyatha rupam swarupena vyavastiti. So hitva anyatha rupam, so that's what he's more or less repeating here. So māyā-kalpitasya anyatha-bhāvasya mityātva avabhāsa. So the avabhāsa, the recognition of the falsehood of the anyatha bhava, of any other nature or any other kind of identity that was created by the illusory potency. So, and that comes about by tat-sākṣātkāreṇa. So that's the difference between the two. So in the second, the person, while living, by the experience of the Absolute, realizes that everything else other than the Absolute is a product of Maya and is illusory. So here Babaji explains. Mukti is of two types, called mukti while living, or jivan mukti, and mukti after death, which is called utkrānta mukti. In the jivan mukta state, a devotee continues to live in the present body while knowing that everything that is a product of prakriti, of the material nature, is temporary and thus always in flux. In the state of utkrānta mukti, the devotee becomes free of both the gross and subtle bodies. This is called becoming situated in one's own swarup. Such a devotee gets a spiritual body by which he or she can experience Bhagavan and his abode. In both cases, the devotee is under the influence of the intrinsic potency of Bhagavan. Thus, Maya cannot exercise any influence on him or her. Thus, this mukti, and not the one in which Brahman is the highest goal to be achieved. So this mukti, and not the one in which one experiences Brahman, is the highest goal to be achieved. The bliss of bhakti is unlimitedly greater than the bliss of Brahman. This is stated in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Let's see it. Sva-sthāna Sukambodha stitasya me Brahmani Sukhani Goshpadayante Brahmanyapi Jagadguru. This is also stated by Dhruva. The verse comes actually from the Hari Bhakti Sudodhaya. The Hari Bhakti. tat-sākṣātkāreṇa Sudambodho stitasya me Sukhani Goshpadayante Brahmanyapi Jagadguru. So even the pleasures of Brahma realization is insignificant as the water contained in a hoof of a calf when compared to the ocean of bliss that comes from Sakshatkar of Bhagavan. This is the case because in Brahmananda there is no variety. Moreover, there is no distinction between the experienced and the experienced. So we were talking about the Triputi. So the experience with if there's no distinction, and this is the example that is given, and Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, it's usually ascribed to him, though I doubt that he was the one who originated it, that to be sugar is not as delightful as to taste sugar. So the sweetness of sugar or the sweetness of good food, the rasa, what's the point of being rasa when you can't taste it? The joy is in the tasting of the rasa. So this is why bhakti is supreme over any other state of spiritual bliss. So sa esha muktir evātyantika-puruṣārthatayopadiśyate. So this is saying what we said here. It is this very mukti in the form of experience of the Absolute that is instructed as the ultimate goal of life by Sanat Kumara to Prithu. So we still, although Babaji has here talked about bhakti in this context, is already skipping ahead a little bit because we're not really concerned with bhakti making that distinction as of yet. That distinction will come, obviously, but first of all, he's talking about mukti. But the goal here is obviously to explain that of these two kinds of mukti, one is superior to the other, and that will be in the next reading. So, sa esha muktir evātyantika-puruṣārthatayopadiśyate. So everywhere, whether we're talking about Brahma Gyan or Bhagavat Sakshatkara, the adherents of each doctrine will point to texts and will point to claims by their adherents, other adherents, by their own siddha purushas, that this is the ultimate goal, or the ultimate joy. It's the ultimate goal of life, the ultimate purushartha. So the purushartha, mukti hitvanyatha rupam, this mukti, that this mukti is stated to be the ultimate goal. But we have the mukti as being the chaturtha, or the purushartha. So originally, in historically speaking, the Vedas and the Purva Mimamsa doesn't really take mukti into consideration. It's concerned with dharma, artha, and kama. These are the three goals. That's why you often hear the term trivarga, and that trivarga is going to be used in the verse here that's quoted. So trivarga, dharma, artha, and kama, this was usually what was being stated as the ultimate goal of life. But at some point, probably from the Upanishadic period and the Buddhist period and the Vedanta period, all established mukti as the fourth, or the fourth purushartha. So here's the verse that he quotes. This was stated by Sanat Kumara to Prithu Maharaj. Tatrapi moksha evartha atyantikatayo ishyate atyantikatayeshyate traivargyortho yato nityam kritanta vayasamyutaha. So moksha here, moksha alone is the purpose that is to be considered ultimate, atyantika. So here we encounter the word atyantikataya, atyantika again. So this atyantika, absolute attainment of happiness and freedom from misery. So it is the goal, it is the ultimate goal, the final goal. There's no goal beyond this. Why is that? So here Sanat Kumar says to Prithu, Traivargyortho yato nityam. So the other three goals, the other three purusharthas, dharma, artha, and kama, they are always kritanta bhaya samyutaha, are always combined with, or always equipped with fear of death. Kritanta means death. Krita anta, anta means end. Krita anta. So we've been talking about this already before, the bhaya, bhayang dvitīyā biniveshatak syāt, that bhishaiva vati vatoyam, these kinds of statements were stated from the Taittiriya Upanishad, which we were looking at earlier. The Taittiriya Upanishad saying that if one does not have this absolute bliss of Brahman, what was it again? It says that yato vacho nivartante aprapya manasa saha anandam brahmano vidvan nakutaschana bhibyati. That one is not afraid of anything. So fear is the primary symptom. We try to cover it up. I was just watching something, and a person, a student of religion, a professor of religion, was talking about the purpose of religious systems is to help one get over the fear of death. He says that that this fear of death, directly or indirectly, everybody is suffering from it. So somehow or another, in order to live, in order to continue in this world, we need to have some belief in our continued existence. Or else we have to just take, somehow or another, we have to remove the thought of death from our minds. And of course, to face death, to face death directly. I believe he quoted Albert Camus, who sort of said that if you can deal with that problem, then everything else you can take care of everything else. But of course, how can you become free of fear? It says, Anandam Brahmano Vidwan, na kutaścana bibhyati. It's only when one has experience of the bliss of the Supreme Absolute Truth, of the encounter with the Supreme Absolute Truth, that one can be free of fear. So here he says that, so all these other three, so dharma, artha, and kama, no matter how much kama, no matter how much sense enjoyment, no matter how much pleasure, no matter how much money, how much fame, no matter how much religiosity, no matter how well you can conduct your affairs in this world, none of these things, no matter how perfectly attained, will free you from the fear of death. So Kamsa and Shishupal and all the rest, even Hiranyakashipu was not free from the fear of death, although he tried to avoid it by many a stratagem. There is no solution to the problem of death. And that is what we have to take into consideration. So here again, he quotes the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. It's a very nice quote. I put this in my Sanskrit course because it's such a nice, simple sentence. So this is stated that Yenaham namritasyam kimaham tena kuryam. So that by which I do not become immortal, what use is that to me? What use is that? Kim tena. So here's the translation. So in that also, only mukti is called the ultimate goal. This is the translation of the verse. In that also, only mukti is called the ultimate goal. Atyantika-yāyishyate. Because the goal of dharma, the goals of dharma, artha, and kama, the trivarga. So we have trivarga and chaturvarga. So tri means three and chatur means four. So you have four goals of life. And then we have the pancham puruṣārtha, which is prem. So this is the introduction. This is the special designation that we give to Priti, that it goes beyond mukti. And that was something that will be discussed later on. So all these are accompanied by the fear of death. And the Shruti also says, what shall I do with that by which I will not become immortal? Yenaham namritasyam tena kimaham kuryam. The statement from the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad was spoken by Maitreyi to her husband, the sage Yajnavalkya. So we have a little account. It's a famous story from the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. It's a really one of the, as a matter of fact, this Kimaham, this actual statement, I can remember, I think it was Hanuman Prasad Poddar. The Hanuman Prasad Poddar, you may have heard the name. Hanuman Prasad Poddar was one of the founders of the Gita Press. And this particular statement, he claims that it was when he heard this statement when he was studying the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, it was this that really motivated him to take up a spirit. It was this story and this particular statement that inspired him to become fully dedicated to the pursuit of the spiritual truth. So the statement from Brihadaranyaka Upanishad was spoken by Maitreyi. So I've found, if you can look this, you'll find in most editions of this Priti Sandarbha that Amritaha is in masculine, but it's actually spoken by a woman in the original form. It's Namrita, it's feminine. So one has to, so that is actually the correct reading. I'm so proud of my Visargas. When there's a statement that the pundits are proud of if they can even eliminate one syllable from a sutra. They feel as more happy than if they had if their wife had given birth to a son. So I feel that same joy at finding a mistake in the texts and being able to correct it. At any rate, so Yajnavalkya was a great scholar. Okay, so here's the story. Yajnavalkya was a great scholar who had won many debates in the court of King Janaka in Mithila. He had two wives, Katyayani and Maitreyi. In the later part of his life, the sage decided to live in seclusion and renounced all his possessions. He thought of dividing his property between his 2 wives. When she heard this, well, Katyayani, first of all, she was very happy with that. She thought, that's great. He was not a poor man, you know. He had won these debates at Janaka's court, so he had been liberally rewarded for that. So, but Maitreyi was not so amused. She said, when she heard this, Maitreyi thought that if her husband was leaving all his wealth behind, he must have something superior to replace it with. Therefore, she asked her husband, if I were to get this whole earth with all its wealth, would I become immortal? So Yajnavalkya replied in the negative. Then she said, well, what shall I do with that? What shall I do not become immortal? So, tena kim aham kuryam. She understood that whatever is temporary cannot be the ultimate object of achievement. The human body itself is temporary, and therefore anything achieved by it should also be temporary. Yet there is an exception to this rule. One can attain mukti in the human body. To attain something eternal by a temporary means is the best deal. Thus, Hitopadesha advises only to endeavor for the permanent object. So that verse is Yo dhruvani parityajya adhruvani nishevate dhruvani tasya nashyanti adhruvam nashtamevahi. So well, my translation is a bit different, but I left Babaji's translation here. The translation of Babaji gives, the one who gives up the pursuit of the permanent and strives for the temporary loses both. The temporary will be lost in the course of time, and the permanent was lost to begin with. He didn't even try for the permanent thing, so what was the use? But he gets the temporary, he loses the temporary, because that's always, the temporary is by nature going to be lost. So this human form of life will be lost. Tasyaiva heto prayateta kovido naprapyate yat brahmatam uparyada. What's going to be gained in this world, whatever gains or happiness or distress one has in this world, the happiness that one gets will be attained by the force of time, just in the way that misery is. No one strives for misery, but it comes. And in the same way, by the force of time, misery comes. And so also, by the force of time, one's karmas become to fruition and one achieves happiness. Through the efforts that we make, those efforts are only superficial causes. The real cause is something more profound. So rather than striving for something that one works hard for in this world, for illusory happiness and the avoidance of illusory misery, one should try for that which is permanent, which is not a part of this world. Tasyaiva heto prayateta kovido nalprapyate yat brahmatam uparyada. It's not to be found from the top to the bottom of this universe. Meaning, of course, we can find it in this universe, but not as a part of this universe. It's something that one needs to search from a vantage point that looks beyond this world, this temporary world full of misery and bondage, janma, mrityu, jara, vyadhi, dukkha, doshanudarshanam. It's a sign of wisdom to recognize that this world is full of misery, birth, death, old age, and disease. There's no avoiding them. So one should prepare oneself in view of that eternal truth. But the human body gives the facility. That's why the glorification of the human body is such a big part of all the Indian scriptures. All the Hindu scriptures are all pointing to the human body. It's a temporary body, but it has the facility. In the Bhagavatam, it says that when Brahma created the universe, he created all manner of life, but all these different forms of life did not fill him with joy. And then when he created the human form of life, then he was satisfied, because in the human form of life there was Brahma-dishanam, the intelligence to attain Brahman was present within the human form of life. So the potential for attaining liberation This was the grand potential of human life. So here he says, it is with this intention that Maitreyi says that what would she do with that which will not make her immortal, that which will not give her mukti? So there, mukti, here we've not made a distinction between the chaturtha puruṣārtha and the pancham puruṣārtha, but that distinction is going to be made. So we got some terminology in this section. We got sadhyo mukti, krama mukti, we got jīvad mukti, we got utkrānta mukti. So these are all brahma-prāptir, bhagavat-prāptir. We've got all these terminologies that we're going to keep with us as we go on further on into this section. So that's it for today. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope that you will continue. I strongly advise you to get a hold of the Priti Sandarbha. If you can get it in published form. There's not that many published versions, and not very many reliable translations. The original Sanskrit text is available on Grantha Mandir, but we're also upgrading. I'm putting the text in transliterated form in the notes below, and so you can go there and either follow along with that or print them out, and so that you can follow along with the text as I read it. And if you have any questions about the Sanskrit itself, I will try to help. You can ask questions in the comment section below. So thank you very much, and we will end. Well, let's, for the time being at least, until we come up with something else, I'm going to use the two verses that I generally finish my classes. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah. So there we go, right away. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah. May everyone be happy. So this happiness, and we're not just concerned with your material happiness, the happiness of the dharma, artha, and kama. We're concerned with the happiness of mukti, and we're concerned with the happiness of priti, the atyantika ananda prapti, the atyantika ananda sākṣātkāra. So that's the blessing that's given at the end of the class. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu nirāmayāha. So nirāmayāha, free from miseries. So may everyone be free from disease, free from the disease of ignorance, free from the disease of material life. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu nirāmayāha. Sarve bhadrani pashyantu ma kaschid dukkha bhag bhavet. Purnam vadaha purnam midam purnat purnam udachyate. Purnasya purnamadaya purnam evāvashiṣyate. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat. Jai Jai Sri Radhe, Jai Jai Sri Radhe, Jai Jai Sri Radhe Shyam.